Hey, thanks so much for being here. Today's video is in response to a lot of questions that I've got recently, which is how do members of the church or how do friends and family be a better support to people like me? So I'm going to talk about 5 suggestions that I have, and this isn't meant to be an exhaustive list or anything, but hopefully it can give you a better idea on how to support people like me. Oh, and I guess before I get started, I hate the idea of telling people what to do or giving them advice on what they should do. It just feels like going on this rant. Hopefully it doesn't come across that way. These are just 5 suggestions. Feel free to ignore them or do them. But in my experience, the friends and family who have done what I'm asking people to do really well tend to be closer to me, and I'm really appreciative of their support. The first thing that you can do is to be careful what you say and strive to actively create a safe and inclusive environment. You have no idea how many jokes or hurtful comments that I have been present for, whether that be things for people who are gay or LGBT or Asian people. A lot of people just assume that everyone around is straight, and so I've been in settings where people have said some not very inclusive, not very compassionate or nice things about different people, and yeah, it's interesting because with things like race, it's very obvious that I'm Asian, and so typically they keep those thoughts to themselves. At least for me personally, as far as race goes, I've been very fortunate to not get the brunt end of a lot of jokes and hurtful comments. But sometimes even I am a part of conversations where people say, you know, pretty harmless things, but also slightly racist things. I know they're not meaning any harm, and a little bit of educating to let them know, like, yeah, that type of question or that type of comment or thinking might not be the most appropriate. But when it comes to sexuality, not always do people. Oh, yep. No, it's okay. Okay. When it comes to sexuality, however, that type of thing isn't always obvious just from looking at somebody. So what that means is a lot of people tend to say things about the LGBT community, and they just assume that everyone's straight. So I tend to be a part of some conversations where the filter is kind of removed from different people, and the things that they say are just like in my mind, and sometimes literally I'll just my jaw just drops. So like it's like, how could you say that type of thing? And more than that, it's like, how do you know that I am gay? You probably wouldn't say that. That's typically a good sign to kind of double check what you're about to say. Please be thoughtful. Please be inquisitive. I know friends and family who are a part of the LGBT community who have told me that they've been at the dinner table with their family or their friends, and those people there around say very hurtful and very mean comments to the LGBTQ community. And little do they know their son or daughter identifies as being LGBTQ. So what this type of thing does is instantly it creates a very hostile environment. Right away, we know, right away there's shame, right away we know that, there's unacceptance, and little do you know that your acceptance and your hurtful comment actually is directed at me. So it's no wonder why a lot of LGBTQ youth, especially those in the church, feel so alone and unsupported. It's because I'm sure they've been a part of so many conversations where people have said things like, really hurtful things like, I'd rather have no son than a gay son, or those homos and whatever, right? Those comments are just not appropriate anywhere, and especially not in places that should be safe places. Places like home, places like work, places like in your friend circle, and things like that. So please watch what you say and make sure that it's filled with compassion and try to be as inclusive as you can. I have so much respect for those people who do that, and I lose so much respect for people who don't do that. So there's the first one. The second thing that I would say is to not look down on anyone who is LGBTQ who has decided to leave the church. Doing so, I think, is incredibly wrong. We have no place to judge other people, and we should do our best to love them and to genuinely hope that they are happy with whatever their life choices are. Even if their choices are different from the choices that we would make if we were in that situation. The tricky thing is that oftentimes we're not in their situation, and it's unfair to judge them because we don't know what they're going through, and we don't know what their needs and their values and their dreams and desires are. So please don't look down on those people. There's a level of maturity and self-development here that I'm talking about that makes it so that regardless of what other people choose in their life and with their life decisions, it doesn't impact your personal happiness. And an example of that is, I hope that by me staying in the church, it doesn't lessen the happiness that my gay friends who have left the church have in the lives that they are building. And in the same way, I hope that as I'm observing and celebrating great events that my gay friends have that I won't have, I hope that by them making those decisions, it doesn't take away from my happiness while I'm in the church. Looking down on people who have left the church is also hurtful for people like me who have decided to stay in the church, because I can understand and I can relate to what they're going through, and looking down on them in a sense is also looking down on me because I'm a part of that community. The third thing I would recommend is to stop looking for reasons for why someone is gay or what caused them to be gay. No one should be looking for that type of thing, who to blame or what went wrong. People being gay doesn't diminish their worth, their potential, their ability to contribute to society, their ability to love and to give and to live a full and happy life. As a gay person, I don't blame anyone for me being gay, and I hope that you wouldn't do that either. The fourth thing that I could recommend is to not group people like me with other people in the church who are also single. Yes, on paper we're desiring to be married and we're single and we might be past whatever traditional age or cultural age people get married. And this isn't to take away from the incredible faith and example that these people have to the world and also to me personally. I have great examples of faith and testimony from people who are my relatives, people I've met on my mission, and people in my personal life of staying worthy and staying true to the church their whole lives, regardless of their marital status. And I think that is such an inspiring example that I'm so grateful for. But at the same time, they're not quite in the same situation as I am, assuming their reasons are the same as my reasons for being single. For me, I don't know why it's different, but something feels a little bit off when people say things like, oh, well, you know, it does sound really, really hard what you're doing, but there are a lot of other people, like older single women in the church who never get the chance to marry, and, you know, they're doing it too, kind of thing. Yes, they're doing it too. Yes, it's super hard, and yes, they can probably relate more than anyone else in the church what this experience is like. There is a slight difference, and I'm not really sure if I can articulate what that difference is, other than just the fact that I have to actively deny a big part of who I am in order to stay in the church. So, for example, I've been in a relationship where we were so close that had the two of us not been gay, we likely would have gotten married. But that relationship had to end because of our sexuality, something that we can't change. And had this person and I been a heterosexual couple, then it would have been completely okay. Somehow that feels a lot more painful for me, having experienced something that could have been, but then having to kind of willingly give it up because of my desire to stay in the church. The fifth and final thing is probably the most important thing, which is to use this thing in DBT, or dialectical behavioral therapy, called dialectical thinking. Dialectical thinking is it's like this mental space that we open up in our minds to hold two contradictory ideas, but to hold them both as being true, or accepting both of them. And what I mean by that with this topic specifically is, on the one hand, I would hope that people would forget that I'm single. What I mean by that is, when you see me, don't make every conversation be about have I found the right person yet, or why am I still single, or what is it like being single? Like, I'm much more complex of a person than just someone who is single, that I would wish our conversations have more topics than just topics surrounding the fact that I'm single. So on the one hand, I would hope that you would forget that I'm single, but on the other hand, I would hope that you'll never forget that I'm single, right? What I mean by that is, I would hope that you would never forget how difficult this path and this choice is for me. I would hope that you would never forget the loneliness that I inevitably will feel being single my whole life. And so it's kind of weird, but on the one hand, please forget that I'm single. On the other hand, please never forget that I'm single. And if somehow you can do both of those, that's dialectical thinking. I have a great friend who does this super well. His name is Shunta Nagano, and he is so cool. Like, when I'm around him, we both know that I'm gay, and I know he has never forgotten about it. But on the same time, he doesn't bring up the fact that I'm gay in every conversation. It's this cool balance that he's been able to do, and I really, really admire him for being able to do this, because I just know that he honors the sacrifice that I'm making in my life, but we don't have to be talking about it every time we catch up. So yeah, huge shout out to Shunta. You're a perfect example of a super supportive friend that I really appreciate. And the same thing goes to like Ben and Aaron. We don't shy away from talking about topics that affect me as someone who is gay, but we're also not making every conversation about it. So it's really cool because I feel safe enough to share whatever thing I'm going through, and they feel safe to ask questions about this too. But we also don't have to be talking about it every time we catch up, which I really, really appreciate. So that's kind of an example of the two of dialectical thinking in this context. An extension of this dialectical thinking when we're talking to single people in the church, please don't assume that you have to convince us of marriage and the benefits and the importance of marriage. I'll speak for myself. I know just as well as anyone how important it is to get married, but that's not going to happen for me, probably, right? For my own decisions. Sometimes I get the sense when I'm talking to people, they're like, oh yeah, it's been so great getting married, like yeah, and they're like implying you should try it kind of thing. And or they're like, oh, you know, I have a friend or I have a niece or nephew, they're single too, you should date them. Like like that's the only thing we have in common, and you think that like, okay, yeah, that's enough for us to get married. For a lot of people, that's not going to be enough of a reason. And that kind of goes back to the idea that, yeah, I'm single, but please also forget that I'm single. I'm more than just a single person. There are compatibility things, there are mutual interests, mutual goals. There's so much that goes into a successful marriage and that relationship, that it's more than just the fact that we're both single that we should date and get married. So yeah, for a lot of us, being single is kind of a pain point that we don't like to think about a lot, right? And so you trying to set us up with your niece or nephew or your neighbor or someone from your ward is sometimes a really painful reminder that like, yeah, I'm still single. And for me, where that likely won't ever change in my life, that's kind of a painful reminder that like, oh yeah, I'm still single. So please be sensitive and try to think twice before you recommend for us to date someone. Although in the times that people have done that, I've been really flattered that they feel like their niece or nephew is someone who would be interested in me. That is kind of flattering. So it's kind of tough. Ultimately though, I would say try to use your best judgment and be sensitive before recommending someone or trying to set someone up on a blind date. So those are my 5 things that I recommend for you to do if you're looking to be more of a support to people like me or people who are LGBTQ. Thanks so much for watching. I would love to hear any questions that you've got for me on this topic or on any other topic, and I'd love to hear about things that you've done that you feel like have been a great example of supporting the LGBTQ community in your life.